we have seen introduction to the rabies, problem statement related with the rabies, epidemiological determinants including modes of transmission. Now let's try to understand clinical aspects related with the rabies. Incubation period of rabies is variable. It may vary from 7 days to many years, but commonly in majority of cases, incubation period varies from 1 month to 3 months. So in first session, we already said this is the disease having long and variable incubation period, or rather we can say rabies is the only communicable disease with variable incubation period. So why we are saying that rabies is having variable incubation period? Because incubation period of rabies is dependent on several factors. So there are several factors which decides incubation period of rabies. So what are these factors? Let us try to understand. The factors affecting incubation period, it includes site of the bite, or we can say anatomical location where rabid animal has bitten. So this site is the important factor to decide the incubation period. Now in case if bites are present on face, or they are present on head, or if bite is on neck portion, or if it is on upper extremities, at these locations incubation period is shorter. Now why this is so? Because this virus ultimately it reaches to the central nervous system, and anatomical locations of bite on face, head, neck, upper extremities, it reduces the distance that virus has to travel. So site of bite is one of the important factors. Another factor, it includes severity of the bite. Now it is self-explanatory. Whenever we say that a bite is more severe, in that case incubation period will definitely be shorter. So severe the bite, shorter will be the incubation period. Another thing which can affect incubation period of rabies, it includes number of wounds or number of bites. Again, if multiple bites are present, incubation period will be reduced. In addition to the site of the bite, severity of the bite, number of wounds, another factor which affects incubation period is amount of virus introduced during biting. So if more amount is introduced, incubation period will be shorter. Species of biting animals. Now if you can recall, we said rabies is zoonotic disease. It is almost seen in different warm-blooded animals, and these animals can be domestic animals, or even rabies can be seen in wild animals. So in case if bites by wild animals, it reduces incubation period, or whenever bites by wild animal occurs in humans, shorter will be the incubation period. Another factor which decides the period of incubation, it includes protection provided by clothing, and after bite, the treatment undertaken by the patient. So these are the various factors which can affect incubation period of rabies. So first thing to remember, the only communicable disease with long and variable incubation period. And there are several factors which can affect incubation period. So it includes site of the bite, severity of the bite, number of bites or number of wounds, amount of virus introduced, the species of biting animals, whether domestic or whether wild animals, protection provided by clothing, and treatment undertaken by the patient following bite. Now let us try to understand pathogenesis of this disease. Now at the site of the bite or near the site of the bite, rabies virus, it replicates, and the sites for replication includes muscle cells or connective tissue cells. So you can imagine the scenario: if the person has bite by a rabid animal, the virus is introduced during the process of biting, and at the site of bite or near the site of bite, virus starts replication. Anatomically, replication can occur in muscle cells or it can occur in connective tissue cells. After replication, this virus enters peripheral nerves and it ascends and it spreads centripetally. Now, what is meaning of centripetal spread? Virus, it spreads from peripheral part, that is from the site of bite to the central nervous system. The virus spreads via peripheral nerves to the central nervous system, and most likely spread of virus is it ascends passively through the peripheral nerves. Now when virus reaches to central nervous system, it infects central nervous system or it produces inflammation of a CNS, and again following infection, inflammation or even replication occurs in central nervous system. Following replication, the virus again spreads. Now the spread is centrifugal spread. So now what virus will do? It again travels from central nervous system to peripheral parts. So both types of spread you can see in rabies. First is centripetal. From the site of bite, virus spreads. It ascends upwards along with the peripheral nerves to central nervous system. It replicates in central nervous system. It produces infection, inflammation of CNS, and again virus spreads centrifugally to peripheral parts. So what are the peripheral parts where we can find rabies virus? It includes skeletal muscle, it includes myocardium, adrenal glands, salivary glands, and skin. So centrifugal spread of virus is carried to skeletal muscles, myocardium, adrenal and salivary glands, and skin. Now, most important thing to understand here is damage will be mainly produced in central nervous system, because we said the virus will travel to CNS, it causes infection and inflammation, and it causes damage to the brain. So how we can see rabies in man, or what can be the clinical picture that we can find in man? So this is called as rabies in man. So let us try to understand rabies in man. The clinical picture of rabies. Now in introduction again, if you can recall, we said this is the disease with longer variable incubation period and shorter duration of illness. So in case of rabies, duration of illness is short, and usually it is 2 to 3 days. Only in exceptional cases, duration may be prolonged to 5 days to 6 days. So the key sentence to remember for rabies is long variable incubation period and shorter duration of illness. So the duration of illness is only 2 to 3 days. Just in exceptional cases, it may be prolonged to 5 to 6 days. Now what symptoms and signs we can get in rabies? So let us try to understand local manifestations. So what patient may complain at the site of bite. So at the site of bite, there are altered sensations, and these sensations may include prickling sensation. It may include itching sensation or tingling sensation, or some patient may complain of pain. So there can be pain, prickling sensation, itching sensation or tingling sensation at the site of bite. What picture we can see in prodromal stage or prodromal symptoms? What can be seen in case of rabies? The most important symptom is headache. There is fever. The fever, as we said, total duration of illness is very short. So duration of fever will also be very short. So fever may last for 3 to 4 days. Fever may be associated with malaise or sore throat. So most important thing to remember is altered sensations at the site of bite, headache, fever, malaise and sore throat. Now pathogenesis already you know. From the site of bite, virus ascends along with peripheral nerves and reaches to central nervous system. Now when virus reaches to central nervous system, already we said replication occurs and it produces inflammation and infection. So what actually happens? The virus may cause excitation and stimulation of almost all parts of central nervous system, and it may involve sensory system, motor system, sympathetic nervous system and mental system. So what can happen? We'll get the entire clinical picture in rabies related with these 4 systems. So it is sensory, it is motor, it is sympathetic and it is mental system. So let us try to understand what picture we can see in relation to these systems. What sensory changes can be produced in rabies? Sensory changes mainly it includes intolerance to external stimuli. So these external stimuli can be noise, or it can be bright light, or it can be cold draft of air. So I repeat, intolerance to external stimuli like noise, bright light, and cold draft of air. Some patients, they may develop aerophobia. Aero is air and phobia is fear. So some patients, they develop fear of air, to which we are going to term as aerophobia. And according to some people, this is pathognomonic or diagnostic manifestation of rabies. So on clinical background, we can diagnose rabies based on this manifestation of aerophobia. So it is very important to understand how to elicit aerophobia. So the test is very simple. It can be done in a clinical setup. Just what we require is fan. So with the help of fan, we can elicit aerophobia. So aerophobia, it can be elicited by fanning current of air across the face. So just you should have to put on the electric fan and fanning the current of air across the face. The most important thing to observe, so what you are supposed to observe is just pay attention to the muscles of the neck. So if it is a case of rabies, this current of air across the face, it produces violent spasms of neck muscles and of pharyngeal muscles. So your observation will be violent spasms. So presence of violent spasm after fanning current of air, and if there is involvement of neck muscles and pharyngeal muscles, this is suggestive of aerophobia. So this is simple test that can be performed in clinic and which is pathognomonic manifestation of rabies. What manifestation we can get in relation to motor and sympathetic systems? There is increased reflexes, muscle spasms, pupils get dilated or dilatation of pupils can occur, and important sympathetic manifestations what you can find is increased salivation, increased lacrimation, and increased perspiration. So whenever you will perform the testing of reflexes, you can find increased reflexes. There can be spasm of muscles. There can be dilatation of pupils, and simultaneously there can be increased salivation, increased lacrimation, and increased perspiration. In addition to sensory, motor, and sympathetic systems, we said there is involvement of mental system. So what are the various mental changes can occur in rabies cases? So it mainly includes anxiety, irritability, anger, depression. Some patients may become confused. There can be hallucinations, and majority of patients, they show abnormal behavior with fear of death. So mental changes, I repeat, anxiety, anger, irritability, depression, confusion, hallucinations, abnormal behavior, which is the most characteristic manifestation, and there is fear of death. Now let us try to understand the most important feature of rabies. Rabies is also called as, yes, you are right, it is hydrophobia. And hydrophobia, it is pathognomonic feature of rabies, or it is the diagnostic feature of rabies. Phobia, now you know phobia is fear and hydro is water. So these rabies patients, they develop fear of water, or simply hydrophobia means fear of water. Now why this symptom is developed? Why patient develops fear of water? Whenever patient attempts to swallow liquids, these attempts of swallowing liquids becomes unsuccessful. Why this happens? Because the attempts of swallowing liquids causes severe spasms of muscles of deglutition. You can imagine the scenario. Patient tries or patient attempts to swallow liquids. Whenever patient attempts to swallow liquids, patient won't be able to swallow. All these attempts becomes unsuccessful. The reason for this failure is related to the attempts of swallowing, which is significantly associated with severe muscular spasms, and the muscles of deglutition are involved. So as there is severe spasm, there is severe pain, patient develops hydrophobia, or patient develops fear of swallowing. And as far as liquids is concerned, most commonly consumed liquid is water. So patient develops hydrophobia. Hydrophobia, it is seen only in human cases. It is not seen in rabid animals. So hydrophobia is the manifestation which is seen in human cases of rabies. Now, as we said, hydrophobia develops because whenever patient attempts to swallow liquids, there is spasms or severe spasms of muscles of deglutition. Now, what happens as the disease progresses, or you can say in later stages of illness? Its mere sight of water or its mere sound of water may provoke the spasm of muscles of deglutition. So no need that patient should take the glass of water and try to drink. So even if there is sound of water or even if there is sight of water, so these two stimuli, sight of water and sound of water, can provoke spasm of muscles of deglutition. So this hydrophobia in later stages becomes very dangerous. Now in addition to these manifestations, so we said some sensory changes are there. We can find increased reflexes, you can find increased lacrimation, increased salivation, plus there is aerophobia, there is hydrophobia, plus there are mental manifestations or mental changes, abnormal behavior. In addition to all these manifestations, those patients which are critically ill or where rabies is severe, or severe cases of rabies, they may show additional manifestations like some patients may develop convulsions, some patients may enter into comatose condition, and even some patients may develop paralysis. Now, what is the prognosis of rabies? Prognosis of rabies, as already in introductory part we said, this is the only communicable disease which is almost always fatal. So death is seen in nearly all patients of rabies. And As far as documentation is concerned, till date, only 3 patients with rabies have survived. So it is very clear from this statistical data that death is seen in almost all patients of rabies, or rabies is almost fatal in all cases. How to diagnose rabies? Diagnosis of rabies. Basically, rapid and accurate laboratory diagnosis of rabies in humans as well as in animals is very essential, and it is essential for timely administration of post-exposure prophylaxis. As far as current diagnostic methods are concerned, there are several diagnostic methods available, but when these diagnostic methods were not present, or when these methods were not available, rabies was diagnosed mainly on clinical history. So clinical case history, where most important or most strong point in the history is bite by rabid animals. Now let's proceed further and try to understand which tests are currently available for diagnosis of rabies. So what are the various tests that are available for diagnosis of rabies? There are several tests, but single test is not sufficient for diagnosis of rabies. So several tests they are performed in humans for diagnosis of rabies. Now what samples we are supposed to collect? The samples that are collected in rabies, it includes saliva. We can take a sample of serum, spinal fluid, or even we can take the skin biopsies of hair follicles, especially at the nape of the neck. Now from these samples, saliva, it can be tested for isolation of virus. Serum and spinal fluid, it can be tested for antibodies to rabies virus, or for serological test we can prefer these samples. And skin biopsy specimens, they are examined for rabies antigen in the cutaneous nerves at the base of hair follicles. So there are several samples that can be taken for diagnosis of rabies. Let's see various diagnostic procedures related to rabies. It is antigen detection. Antigen detection, basically rabies antibodies are used for antibody detection test, and this antigen it's antigen detection test. Antigen detection test, it is done by direct fluorescent antibody test. So here the rabies antibody, it is used and it is directed against the internal antigen. Internal antigen, I hope you can recall membrane antigen and internal antigen. Internal antigen is nucleoprotein antigen. So this rabies antibody, it is directed against nucleoprotein antigen. And these particles, they appears like fluorescent particles after staining. So these fluorescent particles after staining helps in identification of the antigen. So basically what happens, the virus, it replicates in the cytoplasm of the cell, and these infected cells with rabies virus, they contain large inclusions. These inclusions are either round in shape or they are oval in shape. And these inclusions, they contains collection of nucleoprotein, or they consist of smaller collections of antigens. And these inclusions, to which we said they are either round in shape or oval in shape, these inclusions, they appear like fluorescent particles. So once these fluorescent particles are identified, it helps in identification of nucleoprotein antigen. Please see this slide carefully. What can you note? Can you see the fluorescent particles? So these fluorescent green colored particles, they are either nucleoprotein antigen or they are smaller inclusions of antigens. And as you can see, these fluorescent particles, how you are going to interpret the results of the test? Yes, test is definitely positive. In this image, you can't see fluorescent particles. So how you are going to interpret the test result here? It is negative fluorescent test. There is another method which is known as histologic examination of biopsy or autopsy tissues. Occasionally this test is performed, but this test, it is non-specific and it is not considered as a diagnostic test for rabies. In this test, the brain tissues that are taken from infected animals, it is stained with certain types of stains like hematoxylin or eosin stain, and after staining there is evidence of encephalomyelitis. So what histopathologic findings are there? It shows mononuclear infiltration. There is perivascular cuffing of lymphocytes, or there is lymphocytic foci, and the most important finding is presence of Negri bodies. So presence of Negri bodies is most important positive finding related to histopathologic evidence of rabies encephalomyelitis. In this slide, you can see one of the histopathological changes. Please pay attention to the light blue colored arrows. What these arrows indicates? It is showing perivascular cuffing. Perivascular cuffing around blood vessels. This is another slide related to histopathology. Again, pay attention to light blue colored arrows. Here you can see neurons without Negri bodies. So Negri bodies are not present in these neurons which you can see in this slide. Now compare this histopathology slide with previous slide and just carefully see the tip of the arrow. So this is Negri body. So this is the neuron showing presence of Negri body. So that's why we said this is most important histologic evidence helpful for diagnosis of rabies. This is another slide for better understanding. Can you see The dark blue colored spots, these are enlarged Negri bodies. I hope now it is clear to all of you that presence of Negri bodies in histopathological slides is most important evidence for diagnosis of rabies. Electron microscopy is another test which can be done for rabies diagnosis. Please be careful while writing your answer. It is very important to mention the word electron. Only microscopy is incorrect terminology. Why it is so? Because viruses are ultra microscopic and the virus particles or its different components can be visualized only under electron microscope. So remember, we are discussing electron microscopy for diagnosis of rabies. So the word electron is very important to mention here. In this test, the ultrastructure of rabies virus can be examined by electron microscope. So with the help of electron microscope, we can identify rabies virus, and here the rabies virus, it appears like bullet shaped virus, and even the structural component of rabies virus including their inclusions can also be observed in detail. So another diagnostic method is observation of virus under electron microscope, to which we are calling as electron microscopy. In this image, you can see how the rhabdovirus or rabies virus appears under an electron microscope. What you can see, can you notice bullet shape of this virus? It is very clear, you can easily notice it. In this image, you can see three letters related to the arrows, letter A, letter B and letter C. Letter A, it denotes the ribonucleoprotein. Letter B, it denotes an important antigen, that is G protein or glycoprotein antigen, and letter C, it denotes the outer layer of the virus or the outer membrane of the virus. The most important test that are used nowadays is amplification methods. Now what happens, the samples containing small amounts of rabies virus, they are very difficult to confirm rabies positive by routine methods. So what is done? Virus isolation is done in cell cultures. Now when virus isolation is done in cell culture, the virus concentration increases because virus replicates in cell culture. So we said, if we are having the sample where the amount of virus is very less, in such situation diagnosis becomes difficult. So what we will do? We will do cell culture, and in this cell culture there is replication of virus, so concentration of virus increases. And for this cell culture, what is used? There can be use of mouse neuroblastoma cells or baby hamster kidney cells. They are used for cell culture. because these cells, they provides excellent environment for replication or for amplification of rabies virus. So we said whenever virus is replicating in cell culture, we call it as amplification. The virus is amplified. So amplification methods, they are the most important methods for diagnosis, and the virus isolation, it can be done using amplification methods. The most important confirmatory test for rabies is PCR, polymerase chain reaction. Now, one method we said for amplification is cell culture. There are another methods for amplification of nucleic acid of rabies virus. So here, instead of using cell culture, virus is amplified enzymatically. So enzymatic amplification is done, and after amplification, virus is identified by using PCR, polymerase chain reaction. So amplification is followed by PCR, or simply you can say PCR is the confirmatory diagnosis for rabies. In this slide, you can see polymerase chain reaction test results for rabies virus. Please note carefully the yellow colored arrows. These arrows indicates the positions of positive bands. Remember, PCR is one of the most important confirmatory tests for diagnosis of rabies. There is one more test which is considered as gold standard for diagnosis of rabies. It includes direct fluorescent antibody test, and currently this is the recommended diagnostic method for routine diagnosis of rabies, but this is the test which is referred or which is preferred for diagnosis of rabies in animals. So DFA gold standard for diagnosing rabies in animals. How to treat rabies? I hope clinical picture of rabies and diagnostic methods for rabies is clear to all of you. Now the next part is treatment. As far as treatment is concerned, there is no specific treatment available for rabies infection, but there are certain case management procedures that are recommended. So these case management procedures or case management protocol, it includes isolation of patient. This is very essential part of management of rabies cases. So these patients must be isolated, and where they should be isolated? They should be isolated in quiet rooms. Now why this is essential? If you can recall the clinical picture, we said the most important changes occurs are sensory changes, and patient becomes sensitive to external stimuli like bright light, noise, cold drafts of air. So in treatment, what we are supposed to do? Isolation of patient in quiet room which provides protection to the patient against external stimuli like bright light, noise and cold draft of air. Now why this is essential? Why we must isolate the patients in quiet room? This is because all these external stimuli or all these factors, it may precipitate spasms or convulsions. Then as we said, in mental changes there can be anxiety, or there can be local manifestations, there can be pain at the site of bite. So for relieving anxiety and pain, sedatives are used. Then for spastic muscular contractions, all the drugs having a Curare-like action, that is which reduces muscle relaxation, they are used. It is important to maintain hydration and proper diuresis, and all those cases which are severe or critical, they require intensive care, and in intensive care it is essential to give cardiac support and respiratory support to the patient. Now one more thing to understand regarding rabies is all those people which are involved in taking care of rabies patients, what precautions these people should take. So patients with rabies, they are potentially infectious because the virus is present in saliva. In addition to saliva, virus may be found in tears, in vomits, or in urine, or even in other body fluids. So therefore it is very essential that healthcare workers which are attending rabies patients, they must wear protective devices like face mask, gloves, goggles, aprons. These are very essential for protection of healthcare workers. And ideally, all those patients which are having bruises or cut or open wounds, they should not look after rabies patients. So this is about the clinical picture of rabies. So don't forget incubation period long and variable. There are various factors which can affect incubation period in rabies. Then regarding pathogenesis, don't forget the spread of the virus centripetal followed by centrifugal spread. As far as manifestations are concerned, two pathognomonic manifestations, hydrophobia and aerophobia, and four systems. So it is sensory system, motor system, sympathetic system, and mental system, where you can get various clinical manifestations related with the rabies. For diagnosis, the standard test is RT-PCR test, or based on which we can diagnose rabies, or this is the confirmatory test for diagnosis of rabies, and there is no specific treatment guideline for rabies. So this is all about the clinical aspect related with the rabies. Shall we proceed to the last session of this lecture? Are you ready to test your knowledge? Yes, you all? Okay, so from today's lecture, you should know incubation period. What is the characteristic feature of incubation period of rabies? Don't forget, we said incubation period is long and variable, and you should know there are several factors which can affect incubation period in case of rabies. So please try to recall whatever factors we discussed that can affect incubation period of rabies. Regarding the pathogenesis of rabies virus, what thing you are supposed to know? One of the most important thing is the system which is affected by Lassa virus type 1. So don't forget, there is involvement of central nervous system. And regarding the spread of virus, how the virus spreads, it ascends upwards towards central nervous system, and it ascends with the help of peripheral nerves. Two important keywords you must know regarding pathogenesis and the spread of the virus. The virus shows centripetal spread and centrifugal spread. These two keywords you must know: centripetal and centrifugal. Centripetal from the site of the bite to the central nervous system, and centrifugal from CNS to the peripheral parts. Now you all know rabies is called as hydrophobia. Even in yesterday's session we said it. But in today's session you know the reason why and how these rabies patients they develops hydrophobia. So don't forget how hydrophobia is developed. It is the spasm of muscles of deglutition on attempt of swallowing liquids. Which four systems are affected in case of rabies? Can you recall? It is sensory system, motor system, sympathetic system, and mental system. So these are the four important systems that are affected in rabies. What is significance of the symptoms that a case of rabies patient develops in relation to sensory system? Don't forget that rabies patients they are intolerant to noise, bright light, and draft of cold air. And this is the most important point which is applied in the treatment of these patients. So as we know, there is oversensitiveness to the external stimuli. These external stimuli causes muscle spasms or convulsions. How we apply in the treatment? The application is related to the isolation of the patient in quiet room. What thing you can notice in rabies cases when you examine eyes of these patients? Yes, you can find dilatation of pupils. Pupil may get dilated. Why this happens? It is because of sympathetic stimulation. So sympathetic stimulation, it results in pupillary dilatation. What different types of phobias you can see in rabies cases? I think you know both the conditions, hydrophobia and aerophobia. That is fear of water and fear of air. Don't forget, fear of air or aerophobia you can elicit in your clinic just by using an electric fan. And what you are supposed to observe is muscles they will undergo spasm, or spasm of the muscles is the positive finding for eliciting aerophobia. What other clinical manifestations you can see in severe case of rabies? It includes convulsions, comatose condition, and even paralysis. Though these are a rare thing to occur, you should know a severe case of rabies may present with such manifestations. What you can say about duration of illness of rabies? Rabies, it is a disease of short duration illness. So generally the duration of illness is for 2 to 3 days. Exceptionally, it may be prolonged to 5 to 6 days. Which test is used as gold standard test for diagnosis of rabies? Yes, it is direct fluorescent antibody test, but it is preferred in diagnosis of rabies in animals. Which different tests are used for diagnosis of rabies? Can you enlist these tests? It includes fluorescent test for antibody detection, gold standard test, electron microscopy where we can observe the rabies virus, histopathology test where presence of Negri bodies is one of the most important finding, and most important confirmatory test, it is RT-PCR. In addition to these tests, you should know the different samples that we can send to laboratory for diagnosis of rabies. And at least don't forget saliva and CSF. What you can comment regarding prognosis of a case of rabies? So regarding prognosis, as you know, it's almost fatal disease, and till date, as per statistical data given in KPARC 25th edition, only 3 patients of rabies have been survived. Is there any specific treatment for the rabies? Like for influenza, we said there are antiviral drugs, the most important being oseltamivir or amantadine or rimantadine. Even for AIDS patient, we are having antiretroviral therapy. So, is there any such kind of specific therapy available for rabies patients? So, you should know that there is no specific treatment for the cases of rabies. Please remember, in this session, I have not talked about the local wound management. This we are going to discuss in next session. Finally, you should know the case management protocol of the rabies. This protocol includes different ways to treat the patient, and one of the most important thing is to isolate these rabies patients in quiet room. Remember, the quiet room is very important for isolation of rabies cases. In addition, the case management protocol includes use of drugs that can relieve anxiety, that can relieve convulsions of the patient, plus the drugs which are having cure-like action. And it is important to maintain hydration and diuresis in these cases. Some patients, that is severe cases of rabies, may require intensive cardiorespiratory support. Now, dear students, I hope from these sessions, that is yesterday's session and this session, these points are clear to you. Introductory part of rabies, problem statement of rabies, epidemiological determinants of rabies, and rabies in man, related with the pathogenesis, diagnostic criteria, treatment protocol of rabies, and of course, most important part, that is clinical picture of rabies. Thank you.